Hey everybody, it's the Honey Badger here, and today we're going to be doing a review on the JOYING head unit that I've installed in my GX470. Now, this is probably pretty similar to a lot of other JOYING head units. So if you want to learn a little bit about this head unit, let alone what it can do, some of the features, we're going to go over all of that. And I'm going to give it kind of like my honest review. I've used it for about a month and a half or 2 months now. I've dove through most, if not all, of the main settings. Pretty much everything you can do with it. So let's just go ahead and start taking a look at the actual unit. Make sure you drop a like on this and subscribe too for future content. And those likes help other people find these reviews. So that would be greatly appreciated. But taking a look at the main screen, now this is what it will pretty much load into most of the time if you don't have anything connected to it, as in Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. This is what they would just describe as the basic home screen. So the navigation, the music, and the radio for this, on this screen, I don't use any of this because I go into Android Auto automatically and I'll use all of those features inside that actual app. So these ones are if you are using the navigation tools that come with this, or if you want to use music that you have installed to the device, whether that's through the USB pass-throughs or other methods to have actual music on the head unit itself, really. So these I don't really use, but within this setting or area, at least, if you go to this is going to show you other applications that are on the actual device. Now within here is all of your applications. So you can go into your sound effects and you can adjust your EQs. You can pick what presets that you want to go with. I set mine to rock. I think it's actually the best rounded. Fits also most of my music I listen to best. You can go in here and you can mess with all types of audio settings. This is actually very detailed. I think they did a really good job of providing a lot of different options for how you want to set up your audio. So big points here, because this could be overlooked by a lot of people on certain head units, and they didn't here. So that's very nice. So you got your sound effects. There are other nice options here too. Obviously, some of this stuff not really used. You can use photos. You could use music or Bluetooth music. Again, I don't need to. My Android Auto just automatically handles all of that. But within these settings still, we have things like File Manager, which we'll get to in just 1 second. And then we have our AR camera. Now, my install that I did, if you saw that video, great. If you didn't, I'll leave a link down below, or I'll have a pop-up right now. I installed the optional cameras with this unit. So it's going to show my front camera and my rear camera right now. So I did both front and rear. And then in the settings of these, there are options to record, and you can choose your file path. Now on the review, or at least actually on the install of this video, for installing the head unit, I did the 2 USB pass-throughs and I sent them into my glove box. So those 2 USB pass-throughs, I use them for 2 different things. One of them is a thumb drive, where these recordings for these are automatically being sent to. You can choose other places too that you want those file paths to go to. The other one I use, we'll go back to in just a second, is going to be the media that we actually can play through the head unit itself as well. So make sure you run your 2 USB extenders. Specifically, glove box is a great spot to keep them out of the way, and then you can easily plug media in and out of them. But that's where my settings here are going. So let's go back. If we go to File Manager, within the File Manager are the spots. It's going to show you where you can put media. So as we can see, these 2 blue ones are USB 1 and 3, and those are those 2 pass-throughs. So the first one is the pass-through, and it says DVR up here. These are the recordings that my cameras in the front and my cameras in the rear are currently doing, and historical ones as well. So if I pull up one of these randomly, yep, it's going to be footage of driving. Now, I might pull this out and splice them into this video so we can see what this looks like on an actual computer and see what it looks like when it's uploaded to YouTube. But this is what it looks like through the head unit itself right now. And, you know, it's nice that you have both front and rear recordings. So this is available to have basically DVR'd recordings for when you're driving. Pretty helpful for people who are road raging, if you want to upload something to YouTube, or if you get in a car accident and you have footage or proof that it wasn't your fault. So pretty handy. The add-on for those cameras is not expensive either. Again, everything in this video that I'm going over, I'll have in the description as well, so you can check out the products. So I'm a big fan of that. That's a really cool tool. I do really like it. If we go to USB 3, this is the thumb drive I have plugged in. I just threw some random media on it. Here's some just random Portlandia, and it will play video through the car. So you can, in fact, do video playback through your vehicle. Now, this would not work if you are moving, because that's not how it's intended to work, but there is actually a workaround for that, because there are lots of workarounds and a lot of customizable options for this head unit. So specifically, if we go back to home, actually we go back to apps, sorry, excuse me, settings. Within the settings is where you can really dial in all of your options for this head unit and a lot of different things that you can do with it if you want to just really get here and change things around. So I don't have a SIM card inside the head unit. That is an option if you want to run a dedicated SIM through this unit. There is an option for that. We're not doing that, so we can kind of skip this. Under common settings, there's a lot of things. I'm not going to dive into all of these options because this would be an hour-long video going over every setting. But you have options, obviously, for the DVR. You have options for voice settings and USB settings and interface settings. Hardware settings is the one we're going to talk about for the video playback. So if you flip parking brake just off, then you can just play video through your head unit whenever you would like. So that's turned off, which is why we were able to play that right away. There's lots of other options as well for delayed shutoff. And then the other big one that I think is important is keys and learn. So if we go to key settings, within key settings is where one of the most helpful, or not helpful, but at least a very nice feature is that I think is kind of a, not game changer, but if you would have lost the ability to use your steering wheel controls, that would be honestly kind of a bit of a loss. It's great if you can retain them, and you can retain them with SWC, which is steering wheel controls. When you click on that for learning, mine are already programmed, but you can clear those settings and you can save new ones, or you can change the settings, but you basically select the one you want and then you press the key on your steering wheel. So for mine, it's very simple. Volume up is volume up, volume down is volume down. The up arrow and down arrow is next track and previous track. And then I use the mode button on the steering wheel for me to be my play pause button. Super easy to play and pause your music. That way you're not relying on a touchscreen while maybe you're moving. If you want to pause your music, very, very simple. Just press the mode button. No problems there. Very simple to use. But you can program it to other things. You can power it off. You can switch to nav. You can change the sources, which will take you to the home screen. You can just mute your audio. You can, call. There's a lot of options and a lot of good things in here for you to be able to customize these buttons the way you want. So if you don't want to mess with any of those, you want to make them all very different, you have those options. So that's what I do with mine. You can change even all of the sounds for the head unit and the sounds that are coming outside of the actual speaker for when you just press around. Right now, we're just getting a very light little beep button sound, and you can change all those. So I changed the tone sound to type 3 because tone 1 I thought was a little bit loud, a bit aggressive. I also changed the volume as well because sometimes you just don't want, when you're pressing through the menus, you just don't want a million loud beeps. So you can get in here, change all those to exactly how you want, and you can change it, all types of stuff too. Mic gain settings, CarPlay stuff. You can go into display settings. You can change those as well, whether or not it's reverse camera, auxiliary, or system. You can get in here and change the brightness, the theme. I've set mine to dark already. I have a background. You can go in here to the options for the colors. I've actually changed the colors of these light up indicators on the side that you can select from as well. These are usually on RGB. I just kind of set mine to a generic kind of white color for now. You can do all types of changes in here. You can change the background. This background's just one that came default. It just is kind of anime. I just kind of switched it to that. Thought it looked neat. Again, I don't see this that often because I'm mostly an Android Auto when I'm using the vehicle, but the options available are great. Now, to just kind of go over the two main head units, I believe there's two options on Amazon. There's one that's an 8 gig memory version and one that's maybe a 4 gig. This is the 8 gig, and I would just recommend going with that one so you just have a little bit more memory. That way you're never ever capping it out. It does have that Snapdragon 8-core processor. It seems to work great. I like it. As for responsiveness, I don't think it has any issues. I've never experienced a major slowdown on it or really any problem. So I think that this one's the one to get to. Make sure you have enough memory. You won't run into any of those problems. It seems responsive. The screens are great. You might have a missed touch every once in a while. There are gesture controls as well, and you can set those up and change them in the settings. I haven't really messed with those. I don't really plan to. It works well the way I want it to right now. So I'm not going to really go in there and change too many things, but a lot of options in here. Settings, here's the wallpaper. You can go in here. It'll load a bunch of different ones. It'll tell you if you want light ones or dark ones. You can go through the settings and the menus. Again, there's all types of things just kind of packed into this. You can import your own too and change it exactly the way you would like it. So you want to get a picture of your car on there, you could do that and get it set up just to your liking. So other weird things, you got calculator, you got some other stuff, and then you could even do Netflix if you're running a sim through the vehicle. And again, we're not, because we don't have the sim in the vehicle, we just are using our phone. So nothing we need to really mess with those settings, but those are your main kind of apps. Again, you can get this thing set up the way you want. You can watch things the way you want as well. So the home screen takes us back home. Again, the apps button is there, but when we want to go into Android Auto, we just move over, and Phone Link is what it's called. And when you click on that, it'll launch that. So when we get into Android Auto, we have a lot of different options. So let's just go back to here real quick. So this is just kind of our default interface for Android Auto. It's showing me applications on my phone that are currently items that can be used through the interface of Android Auto. Android Auto and CarPlay through this head unit are both wireless. You don't have to plug anything in. You get in your car, turn it on, give it a second to find it, sync up, and you're off and running. It doesn't usually take too long. By the time I back out of my driveway, it's already up and running about 99% of the time. So I don't have any problems there and no issues with startup. So once you're in here, there are a lot of things you can go over. You usually won't go over this screen, but you know, we got Spotify, we got weather radar, we got YouTube Music, we got Waze, we got all types of options. And honestly, there's a million more apps I could download and install, but my phone's actually pretty freshly installed, so I don't have a bajillion things. But Discord messaging, Messenger works, Messages work, all those things. You can go to your music. Obviously, it plays like normal. Your Spotify or anything like that is pretty simple. You can browse your library. You can search when you're driving. It'll ask you to, see your phone's keyboard is active right now because it knows we're not moving and the car's not driving, but you can search by voice. Everything works really well. Again, we installed with our kit the actual microphone. It picks up everything clear. I don't ever have any problems with it. And the music works great. I've never had any real problems. Every once in a while, and it's very, very rare, music will cut out. I don't know if that's connection from the device to my phone. I don't know if that's the head unit, but I mean, it is just a millisecond of where audio doesn't play. I don't know if it's the head unit. I don't know if it's my phone. My phone's been doing a couple weird things recently, so maybe it was my phone. I really don't know, but nothing really to scoff at. Not a big deal to me, at least. And then Maps works pretty normal. Phone calls work pretty normal. All those things. I mean, I think the radar app even works in here. So you can pull up your radar. Yeah, you can opt into location. Again, I just reset my phone, so it's not going to pull any of that stuff up. But you can do all this. I think it all works great. The Android Auto experience works well. I obviously can't speak into the CarPlay, but I'm going to guess it works pretty normal. I don't think there's going to be any problems with that. No issues. You can go to, these buttons are about the only two I don't use because I don't use the radio. We're going to turn that down just to make sure we don't have any copyright issues. But you got your radio. I think this one would be the maps thing. Yeah, we don't need to do that right now. Home's going to take you to your home. You probably can actually reconfigure these buttons to do other things. I haven't dug into that, but I'm guessing you can do that. You can even run multi-source if you wanted to run a two-window setup, so you can jump between maybe one setup and another. So you can actually do that too. There's a lot of options for this head unit, so you can really dial it in the way you want. Overall, I think it's a really good value, and I think it's a game changer specifically in this vehicle where this was a non-navigation unit GX, and so the non-nav unit, as we know, doesn't have Bluetooth, or at least mine didn't have Bluetooth, and it doesn't really have a lot of good playback options besides radio and a 6 CD changer. So that was it for me. This was like the first modification I did when I bought this, knowing that that needed to be changed, and this is a game changer. So if you've been doing that your whole life and you want more from your car and you think that it'll upgrade it and change, I mean, honestly, it's just a game changer. It's going to make it feel a million times newer. And it's a nice display. It looks pretty good. One of the shortcomings of it, if we go into the settings, this is about my only complaint, and it's a pretty small complaint. If we go, where's the best place we can showcase this? Because right now, there is one small issue with this display. And it's not a big deal, but we'll go somewhere to find it. Let's go to wallpapers, and let's go to dark. Let's find ourselves a pretty pitch blacky wallpaper. Here we go. All right, let's see if it's showing on the video. Yeah, you can see it on the video. So what's happening here is if you look close to the video, and the camera's actually doing a decent job of punching it up more on camera than it is in real life, but there is there's light bleed on the corners specifically of this display. It doesn't look actually as bad in person as it looks in the video, but this does have some light bleed. It's not perfect. You know, display's probably a little bit cheaper. Again, the whole unit is not the world's most expensive thing. It's not cheap either, but You know, it's not like it's thousands of dollars and it's a really cruddy display. Overall, the touch and the display look fine. It's like 720p. It's like 1200 by 720. It's not crazy high resolution either, but it looks good for what it is. Small nitpicky kind of complaint. I wish there wasn't light bleed. Maybe it's just my unit. Maybe they're not all like that. But if you have one of these and yours has these issues or looks like this, let me know. I'd be interested to know because it probably has some variance from all the different units, but it's not the end of the world. Again, it's not so bad that I'm like, oh, it's horrible to look at. And again, I'm not staring at my screen while I'm driving because I'm driving. So it's not the end of the world. But we'll just change it back. Let's just go back to that anime one. I think it looks nice. And go back home. We'll go back to our settings and our apps. But overall, I think I'm going to give this, for all the things it can do, like a 9.5 out of 10. It's almost perfect. There's a couple of small things I don't like about it. Oh, here's one of them. And because I don't actually use it all that often, I don't notice it. But because I can change my volume through my steering wheel, I mostly do that to get a couple more notches. The actual volume knob is kind of finicky, and I didn't really notice it at first because I haven't used it much, but when you go and you just crank turn it, it actually doesn't like crank turn up. It does it one at a time. In fact, so you want to move it slow to get more out of it. It won't actually do clicks. If you just go to spin it, it actually doesn't really register the spin. So if you want to crank it fast, it doesn't crank. You got to go with the clicks individually. So it would be as easy, and again, I pretty much just use the steering wheel to turn it up a couple volumes if I want. So that would be one other weird thing that just is kind of odd, but it's not like a deal breaker. Just something to know about. If you just like to spin a knob and crank it, yeah, that doesn't work that well. So I use the steering wheel, but that's what I've been doing in most of my vehicles because they've all had at least a volume change on that. And again, you get pretty good volume change as you go up, so I haven't really needed to mess and do anything else with that. But those are pretty much all of the main things to go over. Again, you can really customize this thing how you like. If you have any questions about the head unit, something I didn't cover in the video, let me know down below in the comments, or if you have any other questions, obviously let me know. Overall though, I think it's totally worth it, and I think it's a million times better than the stock head unit that comes, at least in this vehicle, so highly recommended. I'm pretty pleased. It's better in this vehicle, at least the way everything works, than any of my newer vehicles that I own with their head units and any of their built-in stuff. So this is honestly one of the better built-in one units. I know it's aftermarket, but it's better than the stock ones that come in my other two vehicles. So I can't really fuss about it. There's those two kind of downsides that everything else works great. So I really like it. If you're interested in it, like I said, all of those product links are in the description. You can check them out if you want to do this head unit with those cameras and so on and so forth. But if you could leave a like on the video, I greatly appreciate that. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see all of you guys in the next video.